right. Hello, Lake Wales, and welcome to episode number 13, actually, of The Mayor and the Manager. Time's going by quick. And of course, this is a podcast that is a part of Providence Voice, which is the media ministry of High Point Church. And we created this podcast as a way of helping you as citizens get to know the people that you have elected and the people that you pay to lead the city. And today, we are honored to have as our guest Chief Shad Smith, who is the current chief of the Lake Wales Fire Department. And before we started this podcast, I was just having an interesting conversation with the chief. By the way, welcome, Chief. We're glad that you're here.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
And I was expressing my confusion over Jonathan and Shad. So if you go on the website, they're not going to see Shad Smith. So why don't you tell us about that?
Okay. Like I was explaining to the mayor, my dad, his name is John Smith, and everyone knows how common the name John Smith is, and he felt that way his entire life. And my mom was very adamant about me being a John Jr., in which he did not want that. So the compromise was she got to name me Jonathan, and my dad got to pick my middle name, and the middle name he picked was Shad. Now, I don't know where and why he picked the name Shad. I just think it was because he thought it was interesting. But beyond that, and then the other thing I explained was the first portion of my life being a young man and, wanting to be cool. I didn't think the name Shad was very cool. So I told everyone my name was Jonathan because I thought it was a little more sophisticated, if you will.
Okay.
And then later on in life, I figured out that everybody thought the name Shad was pretty cool, so I kept saying that. So here we are this many years later. Okay. Some folks call me Jonathan, some folks call me Shad.
Okay. But if they call you Chief, you'll answer to that too.
Yeah.
All right.
It took a while whenever I became deputy chief for someone to say the word chief and for me to actually turn around and look. It took a minute, but now, yeah, it's pretty automatic.
Okay, and that's not been that long ago that you became our chief.
No, as far as the actual fire chief position, no, sir. I was promoted in November of last year.
Okay, very good. Well, okay, so that's a great lead into the first question I thought we'd talk about together this morning. I just want you to introduce yourself tell us about yourself. Well, you've already started to do that. And how did you get interested and involved in being a firefighter and how long you've been doing it?
Okay. Like the mayor said, Jonathan Smith, or all of my friends and family call me Shad. I was promoted to fire chief in November of 2025. I actually started with the Lake Wales Fire Department in November of 1998.
Oh, okay.
Interesting story. The person that got me interested in becoming a firefighter, we actually got hired at the same time. Initially, I started college just like any young person does, thinking all the big thoughts about all the cool things that I was going to be when I grow up. And not a single one of them had anything to do with the fire service. Okay. I had no aspirations of doing that at all. I bumped into an old high school buddy and asked him what he was up to. And he told me he was working for the Sebring Fire Department. And I said, really? That sounds really cool. Yeah. That sounds kind of amazing, actually.
Okay.
And he kind of explained to me what he was doing and how he got to that point. And so I mentioned it to my parents, and my mom just so happened to have went to school with the gentleman that was working at the Lake Wales Fire Department at the time, who was the head of the volunteers. So I went up there, introduced myself, became a volunteer, went through standards and EMT school in 1996, and then interviewed in 98 and got the position as a firefighter. And the person that I got hired with was Paul Bird.
Okay.
And we were hired together. And he just recently retired a few years ago. And I believe now he's operations manager in Sebring Raceway now.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, that's the story. I had really no aspirations of being in the fire service. And then I bumped into someone, and fate took its turn.
Okay. 1998 then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this November I'll be 28 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And I think that if I recall correctly, when I sat with our chief of police, he began working with the Lake Wales Police Department in 1997. So y'all came aboard about the same time.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right.
So it says something, I think, about the city of Lake Wales that our first responders hang around for so long.
It does, and we do. And I know for myself, once I decided to go into the fire service, there was no other department I wanted to work at.
Mm-hmm.
And there's folks out there that don't feel the same way, mainly because they have friends and family that live in their hometown, and it concerns them to be in a situation where they actually may have to run a call on that person. And I understand that, but I also know that for me, my drive was to be the absolute best I could be, the best version of that person I could be. And who better to run that call than the person who's striving to be their best, So I kind of felt the opposite as far as, and plus this is my hometown. This is where I grew up. I'm a fourth generation, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So,
Okay. Now, when you were describing your kind of like your start there at the Lake Wales Fire Department, you used the word volunteers. So I don't think that exists anymore, does it?
It does, but only in certain places. The Northeast is still very heavily covered by volunteers. Okay. And you have to understand there's a whole different world that goes on in the Northeast as far as volunteers goes. They have very sophisticated departments. They have volunteers.
When you say the Northeast, you mean the Northeast
of the United States.
Of the United States, okay.
Yes, that area is still heavily volunteered up there. The New Yorks, the New Jerseys, those places up there. For us, one of the reasons why volunteers was such a big part of the Lake Wales Fire Department in the beginning was, our staffing was relatively low in comparison to what we were actually covering, the amount of city and county areas we were covering at the time. So it was very important. Some of the rules that were set forth early on, living how far away a member of the department could live, and also having volunteers on staff so that when we did have significant incidents, we were able to call in people off duty to come and assist, as well as volunteers to come in and assist.
Okay.
So that was a huge part of the beginnings, and even my beginnings at the department, because when I started, we were only running 5 per shift at the time.
Okay.
And we were covering our city of Lake Wales as well as all the OPA areas, which encompassed around 50 square miles. It was relatively large.
Okay. So OPA means?
Outside protected areas.
Okay.
It was a portion of the county that we used to cover for them. And then several years ago, they did away with that. They had started dispersing out more stations and started covering that. So we just strictly are covering the city of Lake Wales now.
Okay. And that's becoming a bigger challenge all the time, isn't it?
Well, it is. It always is. But thankfully, like we've said many times in all of our ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings, luckily we have administration and leaders who have their eyes wide open and know that infrastructure has to grow along with the city. So
let's keep pursuing that a little bit. You mentioned that, of course, 1998 you began. Back then there was more of an active presence of volunteers. That's something that has changed quite a bit. You also mentioned you were only running 5 firefighters per shift at that point. What does that look like now? You've been with the department for almost 30 years. So tell me some of the most significant changes and shifts that you've seen in the Lake Wales Fire Department while you've been there.
Well, our current shift staffing is 12.
Okay.
Now that's 11 line firefighters. Technically, that's 8 line firefighters, 2 lieutenants, and a deputy chief. So as far as the differences between then and now, we cover less area, but we run a significant more amount of calls, and you're looking at the difference between my first year as a firefighter. We ran less than 1,000 calls.
Wow. For the whole year?
And last year we ran well over 4,000 calls.
Wow. Okay.
So, that type of thing has changed significantly over the years. And then of course, it was development of Station 2, Lake Ashton was coming into play, and we needed a presence in this area. So Station 2.
Yeah.
And now in the beginnings, we were having to travel back and forth every single morning at shift change to go back to the station to swap out personnel and swap out equipment, as well as, filling up with diesel. And then of course, when we built the site-built station, which we recently was able to expand, that was another huge difference. As far as just general things over the years, just the equipment has changed. So much more sophisticated now. We're able to employ so many different things, ticks Thermal imaging cameras has become a huge part of what we do in the service. Our rescue equipment is all battery operated now.
Okay.
We used to have to take up an entire compartment just to house a couple of tools with all the hose reels and also the power unit that went along with it. Now we store all of our rescue tools in the bumper of the engine.
Oh,
so easily deployed on any vehicle accident. You can almost nudge right up to the vehicle if there unfortunately needs to be some type of extrication, employed. So, but beyond that, of course, when I started, we had technically we had 3 computers. We had one computer inside the dispatch. We had one computer in the chief's office and one computer in the captain's office.
Yeah.
And they had just recently started our fire programs reporting system, but we were still doing reports on 3x5 cards as well as a backup. So there was that. And then of course the dispatch computer, it was more of a word processor than anything else.
Yeah.
There was no internet. There was no, I think JavaScript was around during that time period, and that was about it.
Yeah, that's like hieroglyphics.
Well, that's why I joke with folks when they say, well, why is your email address J Smith? I said, because there was no email addresses when I got hired here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I could go on and on about how many different things that we do now in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more than anything, the most important thing that we've continued doing is we've continued paying attention to the line firefighters, paying attention to the rank and file, making sure that they are 100% happy with the environment they're in, with the equipment that we use, the training they receive, all that stuff, because I think that's what makes us the most successful.
Sure.
I mean, all this equipment's great.
Yeah.
I love everything that we are able to, technically afford now. But it's the people.
Yeah.
Because we're one big giant team. Realistically, if you don't do anything in the fire service by yourself,
right?
It's always at least a team of 2. And so there's never a time where, Bob's out there doing something by himself. And so it's so important that part of this stay the same. And it has stayed the same for many years. And I'm very excited to see that. And it's dear to my heart because, like I said before, this is my city as much as it is the other folks. And I'm so happy that we've been able to maintain that through the years. That part of it's the most important.
I think one of the things that when I have my own discussions with our city manager, Mr. Slayton, that I think it's the most underrated that we should be proud of and is unique to a city like Lake Wales is the high quality service we get from our first responders, that we have our own departments that are well maintained and well run and well staffed and well equipped. And that's not as, we take that for granted, but that's a big fight for local municipalities to do that well, right?
It very much is. And I can tell you, it all starts with morale. It all starts at the bottom where the newest folks are right there with the rest of us. The morale of the department, it steers the whole ship all the time. Because if you have a group of people that are happy and that are wanting to come to work and be successful and be efficient, and they care about what they're doing, they care about the citizens they're serving, it makes my job especially so much simpler. And I think it starts with making sure you take the time to say, hey guys, so what's going on? Because I joked with my officers recently in an officer meeting. I said, how things going, everyone's going, yep, good. I said, I can't fix anything unless you tell me. I said, because sometimes it can be fixed with a trip to Walmart.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody's upset about one tiny little thing and it's a trip to Walmart and it's a $10 item. Now I've just taken a whole shift whose morale is not very great, and I flipped it on its head because of one simple $10 item from Walmart.
Yeah.
And I know that's a simple illustration, but it can be the truth.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it's relevant in most professions, but so much for us because we're all right there together in the same house for 24 hours. You kind of live together. We joke about it being a family. We joke about, And you know what? Families, we squabble.
Yeah.
We squabble sometimes. We get in arguments and things like that. But at the end of the day, no matter what the squabble is about, everybody leaves patting each other on the back, saying it's going to be fine. Everybody's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that it starts with morale in the department. It continues with training, because, you know, most people, they might complain about, oh man, it's really hot to train today, or it's raining or this. But deep down, people that are starting in a service like we do, whether it be law enforcement, fire service, EMS, people that actually care about what they do, they want to train. Mm-hmm. They are so excited about that because they're always ready to take that next step. They always are ready to learn that new thing, to figure out how to use this new piece of equipment. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the next step around than training, making sure everyone is 100% as efficient as they can possibly be. Mm-hmm. I never understood like veteran firefighters who didn't want to teach the newer folks everything that they know. They always were wanting to hold back. And I don't understand that. Right. Because for me, I want you to know everything I know, because I'm not always going to be available. And you know what? I'm going to take all my years of experience and all the things that I've learned over the years and all the little tidbits that all those instructors conveyed to me over these years, and I'm going to pour it all into you and give you everything I've got. Now, whether or not you accept it, that's up to you. But I'm going to do all of that, because you know what? Tomorrow, I may not be there, or tomorrow I may be the guy you're pulling out of the fire because something went wrong. Right. You know, because I can tell you, I used to, you know, always joke with the younger folks about the percentages of common sense versus actual knowledge that you needed to be successful in the fire service. And over the years, after doing it for so long, I started adding in 10% of fate, because there's 10% that it doesn't matter. You can go somewhere and you can do everything exactly right. And it's just not going to work. Yeah. It's just not going to go right, because we don't live in this nice little box with a neat little bow on top. It's a very gray area that we live in, unfortunately, with what we do for a profession. And sometimes that 10% fate can really spin your head around. Yeah. But I joke about that with them, but then on the same token, I'm very serious, because I think that one of the most important things that anyone in this service can have is critical thinking skills. Yeah. I like to call it critical thinking skills, because I think it hurts people's feelings whenever you tell them that you need to have more common sense. Common sense, yeah. But when you say critical thinking skills, they think, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds a little better. But realistically, if you have a decent head on your shoulders and you have a little bit of common sense, most of the time we can figure our way out of things. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting as you describe and talk about your leadership and the needs of the department. You know, we've made, since I've been on the commission, a lot of investments, equipment-wise, financially, into the fire department, just because it's necessary for us to continue to serve our citizens well. We bought a brand new fire engine a couple of years ago. We've expanded the North Station. We're getting ready to build a station to the south of the city. We invest in a lot of those kind of things, but you talk about the people. It's about the people and about building their morale and the investment. That's the most important thing. So one of the things that has always impressed me, as I have to give a State of the City speech every year, is when I see the statistics on the training that's provided to the firefighters that serve Lake Wales. I'll give you, for instance, the high percentage of our firefighters who are trained paramedics. That's unique, isn't it? That's unusual. And yes, I would say yes and no. Okay. For a department that doesn't require it, yes, it is very unique. Okay. I know most of these city departments, they don't necessarily always require it, but there's a lot of departments out there that actually require it, that you have a certain amount of time that you have to be a medic within. And this is a topic that's very close to my heart, because I was one of the first medics at the city of Lake Wales when we decided to go ALS, or I shouldn't say we, I should say the administration at the time. It's something that I had wanted to do from the very beginning. What does ALS mean? Advanced life support. Okay, thank you. And so I have always held the notion that I do not want to force anyone to be a paramedic, because just like being a part of the fire service or being a law enforcement officer or being a construction worker or a steel worker, not every job is for every person.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's easy to go take a class, pass a class, and be out on the other end with the certification. But it's a lot more difficult to do all of that and then be successful at it and be very efficient at it if you don't want to do it.
Right.
If you're being forced to do it. If
Mm-hmm.
you're that person is saying, hey, if you want to work here, you got to do this, even though you don't really want to do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I understand that they could certainly make the decision not to work at that location. But hey, maybe they've been searching for a job for this many years. And it's like, okay, I really want to get in somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take this leap and we're going to do that. But it all comes back to the point where if you're in a position where you're being made to do something like that, I don't know that you're ever going to be as efficient as you possibly could be, because doing what we do, it takes want to. You have to want to do it.
Okay.
Granted, over the years, our the financial aspect of working in the fire service has changed significantly. And I'm so glad for that too, because I know that in order to continue to recruit folks, we were going to have to at some point. And thankfully, the administration before us was really good at doing that. Mm-hmm. And that he was able to get us to a point where we were very, I can't think of the word now.
Competitive?
There you go. That's the word. Very competitive in the realm of the other departments around here in pay.
Right.
And that has really assisted us. Mm-hmm. The thing that I feel like has always been something we've always had is the actual, okay, we know that we have a good department. We know we have a good group of folks. So now we have to, unfortunately, play on their materialistic aspect.
Well, sure.
It. And we have to lure them to say, okay, you're not only going to have a good experience here, but now you're going to be able to be paid,
make a decent living,
enough living to where you can, and I hate for it to be that way, but it's unrealistically, it has to be.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
When I started, I was making less than $7 an hour working at the fire department. And, I hear guys, oh, there's no way I would do that. I was like, but do you know what?
Yeah.
On the 2 days that I was off, all I could think about is, why do I have to have 2 days off? I'm ready to go back to work now. So whenever you've decided that that's it for you, to me, it really doesn't matter. And I know we all have to make a living, but, that was something. And I honestly don't know where I was headed with that.
Well, no,
I kind of veered off there.
But I think you're getting right to it. It still comes down to people, and those are the kind of people you're looking for. Because no matter what you do for a living, no matter how passionate you are, there will come a time when it does become a grind, where the material rewards are not enough. If that's what you're in it for, they're not enough. So there has to be something in you, especially in these lines of service work, where it's just like it's more of a calling than it is a career, isn't it?
I feel like it is, and kind of getting back to the ALS, the paramedic aspect of it, the department as a whole over the years, whatever aspect of the department, we have always set a very high standard. Mm-hmm. We have never been the type of department to say, that's good enough.
Yeah.
We've always set a very high standard when it comes to that type of thing. And we've set the same standard with our ALS program, in that once you've gone through school and you've gone through all of the field training aspect of it, and you've been passed by the county as far as through our medical director, now I need to hear from my seasoned paramedics and my seasoned field training officers that yes, they're ready. Mm-hmm. Because when all that's done, I need to hear it from the people that I trust, that I know have got the citizens of Lake Wales, their best interests at heart. Need to know, okay, yes, this person is ready to go. They're ready to be put out into the city and to perform. And we know they're going to be performing at the level that we're wanting them to perform at.
So how many firefighters do we have in the city of Lake Wales?
Let's see. Currently, the whole department, we have 40 members.
Okay.
That includes myself and the 3 members of the prevention department.
Okay.
I would say, so beyond that, we have 36 that include the deputy chiefs, the lieutenants, and all the line firefighters.
Okay. All right. Okay.
We actually have 2 more individuals in paramedic school now. We have 2 more that are going to be starting very soon. I believe it's in August. They're going to be 2 more. Then we are actually, for the first time in quite a while, knock on wood, hopefully we don't run out of paddles here. But we are the first time in a long time we're actually full. We actually have no open spots.
Yeah.
And it came just in time for us to get a really cool recruitment flyer from our communications department. But they did a great job putting together that for us. And about the time that we were able to kind of put it out there, we hired our last 2 individuals. So fingers crossed, and with a little bit of help from James, we're going to be hopefully putting some more folks on after the next budget.
Yeah.
And that way, whenever we get our 3rd station, we can staff it to where we're wanting to staff it at. So,
well, we just did the ribbon cutting on the expansion on the North Station, and I'm excited about the one that's coming to the South too.
As I am as well.
I just, our city manager and our city administration just continues to understand how critical it is for a growing city like Lake Wales to be well served. And speaking of that, I think everyone has an idea of what a typical day in the life of a firefighter is, what y'all do. And it's always about rushing out to put out fires, which is part of it. You mentioned 4,000 calls last year, but tell us, what all does the fire department do? All the different ways that you respond to the needs of our citizens.
Aside of obviously emergency calls, we do what they consider citizen assist calls on a regular basis.
Okay.
And they can range from anywhere between my cat's stuck in the tree, to we've had issues. Folks will call us. I have water in my house. I have a leak in my roof.
Okay.
There's a multitude of things that we actually get called for. So sometimes we refer them to, say, the water department. And it's those type of situations. We actually provide a service. We do unlock vehicles.
Okay.
Between the hours of 8 and 5. If for some reason
that would have come handy for me about a month and a half ago.
If for some reason you got distracted and you left your keys in your vehicle, we will come out. We try to encourage the citizens that if we do come out, that this is something we offer as a free service. So we'd prefer you not to abuse it, but it happens from time to time. So we also on a regular basis do smoke detector battery changes, smoke detectors, depending on the situation. If it's just kind of a plug and play situation, then we're able to do that. Sometimes when the electrical wires get involved, we have to unfortunately let them say, hey, you're going to have to reach out to an electrician for that aspect.
Okay.
But we do change a lot of batteries for folks around. Then we have all of our fire prevention department handling well over 1,200 inspections a year for all the different businesses throughout the city.
Okay.
Helping to keep everyone in compliance with that aspect of it, as well as them visiting schools and giving presentations a lot of times on not only fire prevention things, but as well as career opportunities as well. We've just recently started having presences at the different schools that offer that type of training, such as fire standards and EMS. We've had officers. We have our recruitment flyers, like I said before, and they were nice enough to put a QR code on there, so it makes it very simple for them to go to the city website.
Okay,
and they're able to fill out applications that way. And you know what? Everything else that the city calls on, we're there. I mean, it's funny.
Other duties as assigned.
It's kind of and I joke, and many times I've joked about this. Is the one, the amazing thing about working at a relatively small department is that when the citizens call, they will call you from all the way up until and including an alien invasion, because when they see the spaceship land, they're going to go, well, don't call the police. That'd just scare them. We don't need an ambulance. Call the fire department. They'll know what to do.
There you go. Yeah.
They'll know what to do. So.
All right. Well, and something, but that's part of public service. I am again, firefighters, you have an image, just like you would have an image of what does the mayor respond to, but you're a servant of the citizen. So
we are very much so.
You get calls about all kinds of things that really are not related, but your job is to serve.
It is. Yeah. And that's something, and sometimes it may just be the deputy chief may jump in the command vehicle and ride over there and take a look at it. We may not have to take an engine over there for things like that. But more often than not, I mean, when someone calls a station and they have an issue, then we're not going to say no.
Yeah.
That has never entered into the equation for us.
Yeah.
We have to go over there and we're going to at least give them, an avenue to fix it. So,
okay. So you mentioned that right now, thank the Lord, we're fully staffed at the city, but that's not going to be a static situation probably. And even if it is for quite some time, we want and need more people who have a heart to do this kind of service. So if a young person were to approach you and say, Chief, I really want to be a firefighter, tell me what you would say. What are the steps? Like if you were recruiting them for the city of Lake Wales, what would you be looking for?
Well, first and foremost, abiding by the state of Florida rules and regulations when it comes 18 years old at least, a good, nice, clean driver's license, a driving record is a must.
Okay.
Completing all the different steps as far as the training aspect goes. Most departments, I shouldn't say most, a lot of departments don't necessarily require you to have an EMT license when you're first, but they do require you to have a state certified firefighter 1 and 2.
Okay.
So that's the very least. And then beyond that, you're going to start getting into more localized SOGs. Some folks, like I said, require paramedic and things like that. Us ourselves, you have to have your EMT within 18 months.
And an EMT can be gotten how?
Most of your local state colleges.
Okay.
Polk State, South Florida.
All right.
We have Hillsborough. Of course, Ridge has started a program recently where they're actually doing standards and EMT as well now.
Okay.
So we actually have some of our folks do that as a side type job. So, but beyond that, I think more often than not, what I talk to and what I tell younger individuals that are wanting to get started in the service is just what we were speaking about earlier, is the heart aspect of it. Not to discourage them in any way, but to kind of probe around a little bit and find out where their heart and their mind's at. Why exactly do you want to do this? And the canned answer is always, because I want to help people.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so now that you want to help people, now tell me the real reason why you want to do this for a profession.
Sure.
Because some folks want to do it because it's exciting. Some folks want to do it because it's diverse. I think that for me personally, it was a little bit of all of that. I would like to think I've always had a helping spirit, even as a young person. And then getting older, I started to realize, doing these types of things was exciting for me. And that was something that really appealed to me on that aspect. And so it was like, hey, sounds like a great idea. Yeah. Let's go run into a burning building.
Yeah. There you go.
So I think
I want to help too, but I've never had that thought.
So, I think more than anything, whenever I'm speaking to someone who's really wanted to get in the service, I want to kind of probe their mind as far as, what are they looking to do? Are you looking to you just want to be a firefighter? Because there's folks out there that like the idea of it. But when you start to really kind of get down to the nitty gritty and kind of explain to them what's about to take place, then they start to think, do I really want to do this? Because, and once again, not to discourage people, but beyond that though, we all know that if you're doing this because your heart is leading you to do that, then we know you're going to be more efficient at it, and you're going to want to excel at it, from the very beginning. But once you've completed all your schooling, that aspect of it, I mean, most departments, you'll get hired in at an entry level, and then everything else is just on the job training.
Yeah, just learn how to do it.
And you never stop going to school. You never stop education in the fire service for law enforcement or EMS. Yeah. It's constant. You're either recertifying, they've come up with a new class, so now you're going to be taking that class. We have Target Solutions as our platform for our in-house training, some of our in-house training as far as on the computer goes. And there's a multitude of classes, and they're constantly updating them, now, which, with the creation of all the electric vehicles, that's becoming a more common class to start taking in, things like that. So it never stops.
Yeah.
So, if someone says, hey, I want to do this because I just want to take a couple classes and then be done with it, and this is definitely not the profession for you.
Not for you.
Because I can tell you, it never ends.
Right.
I'm 28 years in, and I'm still doing it. Every year.
Well, Chief, I really do appreciate you taking the time and to come and be on the podcast. Again, we're providing this so that the people that live in Lake Wales know a little bit better about what's done. I think our city is well served, and it is good to see that there is a commitment to excellence, I think, from the top down, and it's good for them to know that you have people in these critical first responder departments that are so highly committed to their job. So we appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you taking the time to come in and share with us today.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right. Thank you, folks. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Mayor and the Manager. The goal of this podcast is to keep you up to date on all that is happening in the great city of Lake Wales. To that end, we would love to take questions from you and take the time to answer them. So if you have any questions, just click on Submit a Question in the description above this podcast.